everyone, welcome back. I figured I would do a back-to-back double feature because I also finished The Lion, the Son of the Forest, and this one I have thoughts. I don't feel like this one quite lived up to the hype. So this one is about Lionel Johnson, the Primarch, the legend, the lion. This one's basically about the lion. After he comes out of stasis, he wakes up on a planet, and then he finds one of his other fallen angels that they call the dark angels that fell. Basically, a bunch of them got sucked into the warp storm during the battle for Cabal. They got spit out in all different time periods, and they come together to fight like this chaos force on these planets. They are on like these very outcasted, cut off from most of the Empyrean planets, but there are humans here, and so, or the lion being the lion, loving humanity, knowing that these people are defenseless, vows to basically protect these people. And I really enjoyed the first half of this book. It was really good. There were these moments where he goes into like how would you call it, kind of like a dreamlike sense, where he talks like with the Watchers in the dark and stuff, and it was very interesting, but it didn't really work that well. Like, here's my main problem with this book. It's multiple POVs, which it really shouldn't be. I feel like the POV really needed to stay on the lion, especially since this book is supposed to be about the lion. Another thing, I felt like this book was a little aimless. I feel like the story structure just wasn't there. It felt like it feels like stuff is happening, but it's not like relevant to the plot, or it's not like really doing much to push the plot forwards, and then it kind of feels like we just kind of like meander around, and then we somehow get there at the end, and I feel like it's kind of boring to read halfway through. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of read this like halfway through. But let me talk about the points I really did like first. So what I loved is how this started out, because it starts in this dreamlike sequence with the lion where he's waking up, he's trying to figure out where he is, and then there's all those kind of like, it's kind of like in a game where you wake up with no memory and you're kind of in like a dream, and you see like all this symbology stuff that kind of like relates to how the character is and like, the waking world, and it's kind of interesting. And then there's like these conversations with the Watchers in the dark, because obviously the Watchers in the dark were the only ones who knew that the lion was still alive along with the Emperor, but we see what happened to the Emperor. But it's really cool. It's really cool, and they do that a couple more times throughout the book, and I always thought those parts were really interesting. My only complaint is sometimes you don't know that's happening until you're kind of reading, and then you're like, oh, this must be like a dream sequence, because it'll just be like his POV on a battlefield, and then suddenly he's like drifting off, and I don't know, I feel like they could have done like a little bit better of a job of like distinguishing between the two. I really liked how they wrote him in this book. Like, you really just get this sense of like longing and like forlorn feeling for him, because he's woken up 10,000 years later from the heresy, and he longs for his brothers, he longs for his legion, his sons, and it's just really good the way they write it. And I love how he talks about how he misses his brothers. Obviously not the ones that betrayed the Legion, but he talks about how he misses Sanguinus, how he misses, Lehman, how he misses not Gilliman. He didn't like Gilliman, but it's just really good. It was really good. I really liked the way they had his sentimentality. And another thing I really liked, the character development is not quite there. I don't really feel like the characters really changed too much. I think the character development happens where it counts, and that is with the lion. Like I said, there's this feeling of forlornness. He is coming to terms with being older because he was kept in stasis, so his body just kept aging for 10 millennia. So he's trying to figure out like why he's so slow. Like, he's a Primarch, so he's still better than like regular Space Marines and stuff, but he notices that he's just not as good as he used to, not as fast as he used to be. And then he sees his reflection and stuff and realizes that he has changed and that he is old. And it's funny because he at first thinks that there's like a chaos sorcerer doing like a spell or something on him. And then so he murders this, he's like, finds this chaos and he's like, what did you do to me? And they're like, you're just old. They're like, nothing, you're just old. And so he just kind of murders him. And I thought that was funny. They're like, bro, you're just old, you gotta deal with it. So a good portion of this book is like him coming to terms with that and coming to terms with how the Imperium has changed. And it's just really good, especially like, I know I keep saying the forlornness, but it is really good. And I really loved the brotherhood in this book, the way they come together and they find each other, and they're very hesitant of each other at first because they've been scattered apart for so long, but also they're like, are you a traitor or are you on the good side? Because with the Dark Angels, when they broke apart, they all kind of like pointed fingers at each other, and they're like, our Primarch's a traitor. And it was really good to see them like come together. They talk it out, they butt it out, you know. And that was really good. I really enjoyed that. I just really wish that just the middle of the book kind of picked up a little bit more. I feel like they do like a lot of planet hopping, but they'll do it in between chapters. And so it's a little jarring because you'll be in one spot in one chapter, and then you'll go to the next chapter, and then you'll be in a completely new place, and then it doesn't really describe how they got there or what happened in between there. And the one thing, like I said earlier, I really didn't like is the multiple point of views. It just didn't need to happen. So basically, it jumps between the lion and then Ezekiel, which is one of the first angels that he finds again. And then it jumps to like two different chaos point of views. And they just didn't really add anything. Their point of view just wasn't very necessary. I feel like it really needed to stay on the lion. It needed to stay from his perspective, because his perspective was the most interesting perspective. And it's also why people probably picked up this book, because it's called The Lion. So you're expecting this book to be predominantly about the lion. So it's just kind of frustrating, but also because they wanted to do these dreamlike sequences with the lion, and I feel like that did not mesh well with the other points of view, because then you would be reading like this sequence, you're like, oh wow, this is really cool, and you're like, oh god, what's gonna happen? And then it just clips off and it goes to someone else's point of view, and it just kind of like ruins that immersion a little bit. And I felt like that's kind of what made this book drag too. It's like we didn't need this many perspectives to say basically the same thing or get to a different point of view. So I don't know. The ending was interesting. I did kind of like that, mostly just because, you know, he was gonna make it back to the Imperium and join. I don't really want to spoil it, But it wasn't like a very dramatic ending. It was just he kind of reunites, and then he finds a very popular character, and then yeah, it's kind of where it ends off. So it was an alright book. If you're a fan of The Dark Angels and The Lion, then I would say pick this one up. Otherwise, I feel like you could skip on this one. It didn't really cover anything lore-wise. It wasn't like an important read. It didn't even really talk about how he woke up from stasis or anything like that, which is what I was expecting, but I guess that happened in a different series. I think it was the Indominus Crusade that had talked about it. I'm not sure. I haven't started reading the series yet, but yeah, so that's kind of my quickie review discussion on this book. Have you read it? Have you thought about reading it? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.